This whiskey sour has a secret ingredient. Stick around and I'll show you what it is. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, I'm a whiskey nerd, and like I said, this is going to be an Irish whiskey sour with a secret ingredient. Now, what is the secret ingredient? Well, it's this. It's an Irish stout beer. This is going to take our whiskey sour and make it look a little bit like a New York sour, except it's going to have a stout float on top, and that's going to give this nice, rich, chocolatey kind of coffee note, which really accents the lemon in the whiskey sour. When I was trying this recipe out, it actually reminded me a lot of like those dark chocolates you get with the lemon curd inside it. So it's very much like a dessert. It's got this nice chocolatey sweetness to it, and it's really, really nice. And for what goes into the cocktail, it's actually going to be very simple. It's going to be in the style of a New York sour, except instead of a red wine float, it's going to have a stout float. So for our 2 parts whiskey, we're going to use Dingle single malt, really nice classic whiskey. Got some nice deep rich caramel notes. It's also coming in at 46% ABV, so it will have a nice bit of punch, a nice bit of weight, and it will come through the cocktail. For our sugar, it's just going to be plain old sugar syrup. For our citrus, it's going to be 1 part lemon juice. We're going to use the white of 1 egg, and then I'm going to float some of this stout on top. So that's enough talking, let's get to making this cocktail. It's a shake and drink, so we're going to get our shaker tin and we're going to put an egg white in there first. So we're actually going to put in the egg white before the ice because we really want to make sure we don't get any egg yolk or egg shell in there, because that'll just make us have to restart from the beginning. So we're going to break open our egg, and very simple, we're just going to pour the egg white between the two, and that'll give us the egg, the yolk left behind, and the egg white in our cocktail. And now that the egg white is safely in there, we're going to get our ice. We're going to pop a nice rock of ice into the cocktail, and then we're just going to pour in the rest of our ingredients. So for our whiskey, it's going to be 2 ounces of this lovely Dingle single malt whiskey. It's very nice. You can already smell it. It's a fantastic whiskey. It's really nice. It's deep. It's rich. It's got a little bit of kind of a maltiness to it, but then there's this nice kind of herbal, minty note almost to it. It's very nice, very rich. So that's 2 ounces of Dingle single malt whiskey in there. Like a good classic whiskey sour, it is always good to keep that balance of 2 parts spirit, 1 part sugar, and 1 part citrus. So that was 2 ounces of whiskey, and this is going to be 1 ounce of our sugar syrup. This is just plain old white sugar syrup, 1 ounce of that in there. And like I said, it's 2-1-1, so we're going to go in with 1 ounce of our lemon juice in there. Very simple, classic recipe. So that's all our ingredients. We're going to put the top on our cocktail shaker, bang it down, and shake away for about 20 to 30 seconds. I'm not going to go in with a dry shake because with that single large rock of ice, I can generally get enough of a foam that I don't need to do a dry shake with the egg white. But if you're finding it hard to get a good foamy head on your cocktails, shake it without the ice first, get a good bit of foam, and then put in the ice, and you should be able to get a very good head. Okay, that's nicely chilled. So we're going to pop the top off our shaker, and we're going to get our glass ready. So I'm actually going to serve this one over a rock of ice. Normally I kind of like serving it without the rock of ice, but I think this presentation works really well with the rock of ice. So we've got our cocktail shaker, going to put our lid on top, or our strainer on top, and just pour that out. Ooh, yes, I can already see that's got a very nice head on the cocktail. Now, while this cocktail settles, let me tell you a little bit more about this beer. This actually comes from the White Hag. They're a really nice kind of craft brewery here in Ireland, although they're getting so big they're maybe no longer just a craft brewery and they're turning into a full-scale brewery. This is a very nice stout. It's called the Black Boar. So it's an imperial stout, so it comes in at 10.2% alcohol by volume. And what they did with this that made it really special, they took some bourbon barrels from the Heaven Hill distillery, and then they aged that stout in those bourbon barrels for a little while, and that gave it some extra sweetness, some caramel, some vanilla, and really took those chocolatey coffee notes you get in a stout and they amped it up. They made it much sweeter, much richer, and much denser. It's a really, really good beer. And I can see that this is almost fully settled, so while I wait for it to finish settling, if you're new here, scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. I put out new cocktail recipes every Friday and whiskey reviews every Wednesday, so if you want to see more like this, you know what you need to do. Okay, I think that's about as settled as it's going to get, so I'm going to get my spoon, I'm going to get ready to do that float on top. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put the spoon right here until I touch the ice. I'm going to gently pour the beer on top, just so it sits on top and hopefully I get a nice clear demarcation between the foam, the float, and the cocktail underneath. So fingers crossed it all goes to plan. Ooh. And now it's time I taste this cocktail before it mixes in too much to the rest of the drink. Cheers. Like I said, you get this really nice, rich, kind of chocolatey coffee, kind of really nice dark cocoa note up front, and as you get the whiskey sour comes up to you, you get a nice sweet, kind of lemony note, backed up by the really nice rich notes in that Dingle whiskey. Like, Dingle whiskey is very nice caramel, nice bit of malt. It's also got this nice kind of almost tropical fruits like a kiwi or something like that, like a lime coming through. Very nice, very fresh tasting whiskey, and it works together really well with this cocktail. Like, I wasn't kidding when I said it reminded me of those dark chocolates that are filled with the lemon curd, because you get, when you drink it, you get that hit of dark chocolate up top and you get that lemon sweetness underneath it. Also, it's just a very visually striking cocktail. Like, it doesn't look like it should work, it doesn't look like it should taste all that good, but this cocktail really, really is delicious. If you've been watching any of my other videos, you'll know I love whiskey sours. It's got this nice depth of sweetness to it with that little bit of sourness that comes through. It's not like a real overly sour cocktail, of course, whiskey sour. It's got a lot of sugar in it, very sweet. The sweetness coming from the whiskey and the sweetness coming from that beer, all combined. It's just a really, really nice drink. You might not be able to get the White Hag Black Boar where you are, but I'm sure any good stout, as long as it has a nice bite of flavour to it, has a nice depth of sweetness to it, any good stout would be able to work well in this cocktail, and you might be able to get the layering a little better than me. If you are, let me know. I'd love to kind of see if you have any other tricks to get that layering right. I think it worked really well this time. I think the taste of it is what matters. It doesn't really matter what the cocktail looks like at the end of the day, as long as it tastes nice, and this tastes really nice. So that's all I've got to say for it. Sláinte, and I'll see you next time.